Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Kristen, you see everything. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you had time today to join us. I just wanted to, in the past, I tried to go around different operators and do a compliance review. But due to time constraints and some extra activities I've been having to do, I'm not be able to travel that much across the state. So I wanted to give you all an option of just kind of going over some items that we see that are missing and just some regulatory updates and just some reminders. So I will say this presentation does not include all the compliance actions um, for the entire 192, but it really hits the high spots. So I'm going to go over, and at the end, if you have questions, you can put in the Q&A, or you can unmute and ask a question, and I will do my best to answer. So before we get started, if you'll keep your microphone on mute and your camera turned off. And like I said, if you have a question, you can use the Q&A, or you may ask the question verbally at the end. So I want to thank the Kentucky Gas Association Education Committee for letting me do this, and Industrial Training Service, ITS. They have been so wonderful to be able to offer the technology and the webinar today, and I really appreciate them letting me do this through their avenue. So just a disclaimer, anything on the presentation or that I've said does not result anything that the Kentucky Gas Association anything like that. So that's all me. And I'll say a disclaimer that if there's something wrong or missing, you need to refer to the code book and get the up-to-date code information. So some upcoming events with KGA. I hope to see everybody next week at the annual expo, March the 11th and 12th. It will be a really exciting event. Nancy does a great job. All the information and trainings, and then all the PSC will be there if you have questions. And then we do a presentation on the 12th that morning, and I'll be doing some updates. Also, we have the annual meeting is June the 18th to the 20th. And this year, PSC will be hosting our PSC PHMSA Pipeline Safety Seminar, August the 26th and 27th at the Embassy in Lexington. So as soon as Nancy gets through Expo and Annual, you will see those registrations come out, and I really highly encourage everyone to attend those things. Also, we have Showcase, October the 14th and 15th. So this year, the Kentucky PSC Damage Prevention Division, uh, along with different sponsors and operators and contractors, will be hosting a pipeline strike response training. There's three different ones. One's in Burlington, Kentucky, that's Northern Kentucky, Bowling Green, and Ashland. Please, you can go to our website and register, or Kentucky 811 if you see the information. I highly suggest you to attend. We will be providing lunch. It's free of charge. There's nothing, you just need to register. And there'll be some giveaways and some stuff like that. So, one thing I want to go over, so the Kentucky Public Service Commission Gas Division, we regulate 19 private distribution companies, 50 municipals, 102 master meters, 25 transmission operators, and at this time, 8 gathering operators that have jurisdictional gathering. So last year in 24, the PSC inspected 112 of our 200 operators. The PSC is voted on, not voted, I'm sorry, graded on inspection days. So last year, our team conducted 608 inspection days on operators. So I have to give a shout out to my team. They work really hard and do very well, and they did a really good job last year. So, one thing that I want to go over just to bring light to, we hope this never happens, but incident reporting. You need to know the criteria for incident reporting. You need to go over, make sure you understand, death, personal injury, necessitating inpatient hospitalization, the property damage, um, unintentional gas loss of 3 million cubic feet or more, and in the event that this is significant in the judgment of the operator. So always look at that criteria and make sure you follow that. And it should be in your emergency plan for reporting. Also, look at reporting. You have to report to the National Response Center. The telephone number is on there. You have to do this within following of discovery no more later than 1 hour. So you also need to give Kentucky PSC notice. And you'll have to make that first initial call to the incident reporting 1 hour to the NRC. And then you will have to do a 48-hour follow-up phone call to the NRC. If you're not familiar with this procedure, I highly suggest you get with your employees and sit down and go over. Make sure you have the correct phone numbers, email addresses, and information you'll need in the event of an incident. Attached is our PSC contact list. We've had some new inspectors hired and some leave. So attached is our email addresses and contact numbers. Don't worry about writing these down. I can send this email out, so do not worry about trying to write everything down. I will send this email, that way you all have it. So don't worry about taking notes or anything of the slides. Also, the next division, if you have any issues with damage prevention or the damage prevention, the reporting criteria, you will need to contact the damage prevention division. Our gas division, unless it's a 192 issue, does not deal with the damage prevention third-party damage reports. So just a reminder, we will be reviewing your annual reports that are due March the 15th, and I'm going to say this a lot through this presentation as a reminder. After March the 15th, we look at your damage reports to see how many damages you have. If you have 20 or more third-party damages for the year, we are required per PHMSA program evaluation to conduct a damage prevention inspection. So once we review the hits, if it's 20 or more, we will be reaching out to set up to do a specific damage prevention inspection. Also, if you are not signed up or you've had employees change or you're not doing this, as a reminder, you've got to report all your third-party damages to the PSC, the Damage Prevention Division. If you have a question or you've not doing it or you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to reach out and find out. We can send you instructions to get signed up. If you have had an employee that has moved on and you don't have the password, you need to get that updated. So, as I said, annual reports are due March the 15th. That is, what day is that? That is, let's see, next Saturday. So I suggest do not wait to submit this on the 14th or 15th. I can guarantee you the portal will be spinning and not working. So get those in. Make sure if you don't know your password or you're having trouble, you will have to contact PHMSA. The PSC has nothing to do with these reports. I cannot help you. This is a PHMSA portal, and I've sent the instructions, and there is also contact information for contacting PHMSA if you have any issues. So PHMSA updates. So right now with the new administration, a lot of things are kind of on hold. So I meet usually with PHMSA about once a week. And right now we have not heard anything about the leak detection rule. So nothing is coming out at this time. I've not heard any updates. So we're kind of just in limbo. So, but I do know for 2025, the drug and alcohol testing went back to 50%. Last year it went back to 25, but is now 50. So I need you to make sure that you go back to your drug and alcohol plan, You will have to update that to 50% and make sure that you are testing the employees at 50%. Civil penalties. Civil penalties went up currently. Per violation, the max is 272,926. A related series, we're at 2,729,245. So the penalties went into effect in January of 25. So those have went up. So let me get into the compliance checklist. And I will also send this out. This was kind of a go-to sheet for me when I first started of all the rules of 192 and kind of expectations of how the compliance went through. So I will be happy to share this compliance checklist with you. I will send out an email and you can tweak it to your, your company or however you do things. But I highly suggest you look at it and go get the code book, reference, and make sure you're doing what the minimum code standard is. So like I said, annual reports are due submitted electronically by March the 15th. You cannot submit by paper. If you think you have to submit by paper, you have to have a waiver from PHMSA, and that's, to my knowledge, no one in Kentucky has that waiver. So one thing I know, we're just starting the year off and everybody's busy and trying to start new things, but what I would sit down and do so you can plan your year ahead is to first knock off the dust on that operation maintenance plan. Get it out, look at it, review it. Make sure that, if there's been retirements or employees change jobs, that you have the up-to-date phone numbers, contacts, and the information's correct. There is a requirement that you are required to do a review or update annually, and it must be documented. By documentation, that means you can either, I don't care if it's wrote on the back of a piece of paper that you reviewed it or updated it, or you have an official logged list, but we have to see documentation that you reviewed it or updated it annually. If there was no changes, then you reviewed it, sign off on it, and the date you did it. That is something we will be looking for. Plans. So your emergency plan. Emergency plan needs to be reviewed and updated annually, must be documented. Your operator qualification plan. Look at that. Make sure that all your employees, if you've hired new employees, make sure that they are in the plan and they're following the requirements set forth in that plan. DENT plan. The DENT plan, I have some updates on that. The Kentucky PSC, we met with Aaron with the APGA on Monday and went through a module of the shrimp program. She informed us that if you have not went into the shrimp program but developed your DENT, and this is just for DENT users that use shrimp only, if you have not been in that program since 2019, all your information is gone. So if you originally did a plan in 2011 when the code come out and you've not went back in to make any changes, your information is gone and you will have to go back in and redo the information. And you'll have to have 10 years worth of information to put in. So like I said, we will be looking for updated DENT plans. With that, they are putting out a button that has an annual review of the shrimp or the DENT plan. It is still having some tweaks worked out on it, but I think it'll be very effective for everyone when you're doing your annual update on your other plans to go in and update the DENT annually with your annual report data. And this is mostly for my small operators that, go in, check it, make sure you've got the information. Otherwise, when you go to do your 5-year review, that's the maximum you can go on the review is 5 years. Otherwise, if you don't go in annually and put your information in, you will have to go back on a 5 year period and update it with all 5 years of data. So I just think it would be easier to go in and do that annual check in with the updated information. I've attached the link. You've got Shrimp. It's the DIMP, it's the APGA Security and Integrity Foundation. If you have under 1,000 customers, it is only $19 a year. So, like I said, if you're using Shrimp, you need to go in. If you've not updated your plan, you need to conduct that because we are going to be looking for a 5 year reevaluation and documentation that you did it. So, in plans, we've got your damage prevention plan. If you do not know what needs to be in a damage prevention plan, then you need to go back and review 192614. Your drug and alcohol plan. I know this has been a lot that we've tried to focus on, but we have been working with the Kentucky League of Cities that was gracious enough to develop a plan. And this is for my municipals that a lot of your drug plans does not meet the 199 PHMSA requirements. Now, when I hear people say, oh, well, we're DOT, we do DOT. I understand PHMSA is DOT, but it is different than the driving the CDL DOT. PHMSA has more stringent requirements. So your plan has to meet those requirements. So if you have not adopted a new drug plan that meets the PHMSA requirements, you need to reach out to one of our inspectors or Kentucky League of Cities and adopt the plan, review it, and this only applies to the gas employees only. This does not apply to all the other employees. It's only employees that work on the gas facilities. With that, the plan needs to be updated, meet the criteria, we'll inspect it, and make sure that it meets all the 199 requirements. One thing that we're seeing out there that we have tried to be very open to looking at, but it's not getting met, is the public awareness plan. So public awareness, you have to do a review, you do have to do an update, and you have to complete an evaluation every 4 years, and you have to document that. You need to look at your plans to make sure that they are meeting the API 1162 requirement. A couple of notifications that you may not be aware of is a one-time customer notification of this goes over 19216. This applies to the operator's service line, and this is buried piping that is customer piping. So this is kind of a statement that talks about that you let the customers know that they're responsible for their customer side of the line. If you have never sent this, this is something you need to do. A lot of times customer or operators will have it applicate with the application for new services and you can hand it out. But if you do not know what I'm talking about, then more than likely you've never sent this out. Now, we have developed a sample notification. So reach out to us if you want me to email it to you, a sample notification of what other operators are sending. We developed something in a Word document that you can tweak to your facilities. Also, excess flow valve notification. This happened a long time ago, but and most of you had completed a notification back a few years ago. But if you're new to the system or new to the facilities and you're a new supervisor or and you do not know what I'm talking about, reach out to us and we can get you the example because it will be something we'll look at. Needed task. So as needed excess flow valves. So we have to remember they must be installed on all new services and offered to all existing customers. So just a reminder, when we are going through the records, we will be looking at new services and if an excess flow valve was installed. So you must document this. Pressure testing. Just remember in the field, pre-tested pipe. You have to pre-test your pipe on main lines. That is something we're going to look for the pressure test, when it was done, what was done, and make sure that's completed. So you've got to keep documentation written for us to review during inspection on pre-tested pipe. So one thing that you will have to do once a year, and you'll have to document, is employee emergency response training. And this is the gas employees. This is something you're required to conduct annually. This can be going through a scenario of an incident. This can be going through a section of the emergency plan. You need to read your O&M and review what your actual training is to consist of. But this is a requirement you're supposed to conduct once a year, and you need to document it. We will be asking for this documentation when we do our inspection. Incident reporting. We went over the reporting. I'm not going to really get into this at this time with incident reporting. Safety related conditions. We do have some of those. Most of you do not have that. If you do not know what a safety related condition means, go back, look at the codes, see what the requirements are, and the process. Abandonment and deactivation. Just remember, if you're abandoning service lines and meters, you've got to document that is being conducted. We highly recommend that if you have services out there that has been setting live for years, then you need to make sure that you abandon these, properly disconnect them from the main line, and document. I understand. I've been in a lot of little towns that people want to keep their services. They don't want to have to pay the reconnect. But if they're not using gas, you need to establish a policy that says, okay, after a year, 2 years, whatever you decide, we're going to abandon this, because you're just asking for trouble whenever you have live services out there that if the meter's been taken off and you've still got the service out there, or you got risers that are getting hit by lawnmowers, tractors, cars, or you're missing on leakage survey. So I highly suggest you look at this abandonment and deactivation. I'm going to go over this again. Pressure of testing and disconnected service lines. This is something that I think we're missing the ball again, that a lot of operators are not doing. If you have a disconnected service line, you have to test from the point of disconnection back to the meter set. Go read the code, look at it. With that, you have to document this. So when we're looking through your leak reports, we're going to look and see if a service line was disconnected. We're going to look for whatever your O&M says, their test pressure and length of test. We're going to look and say, all right, you had Joe's Plumbing hit the service line, and on your records, it needs to say, we conducted a pressure test, 90 pounds for 10 minutes, or whatever your O&M says. So if you're not doing that, you've got to do that. Remind your employees that, I know it's hard when you're getting out there and there's stuff going on, leaks, and it's late, and you have to remember to do those things and document it. Drug and alcohol reasonable suspicion training. If you're a new supervisor and you have no clue what I'm talking about, then you've more than likely not conducted it. So you are required as a supervisor to conduct a 60-minute training on drug and alcohol suspicion. This can be conducted by your police department. I don't know. I would have to reach out to Kentucky League of Cities and see if they offer this training. I know there is some online courses, but if it's something you've not completed, you need to complete that. Regular maintenance activities, odorant testing. So one thing that we have found, we have been conducting a lot of Protocol 9s, coming out and watching operators conduct tasks. One thing we found is operators are not properly conducting odorant tests. We either have new employees that do not understand how to work the machine, or your machine is not calibrated properly, or your tubing is very old and it needs to be replaced. So I ask you, anybody who's going out to do the odorant test, or if you're a supervisor, I would highly suggest you go out with the employee and observe them doing the task. This is very important and them to understand the 1/5 the lower explosive limit. So the higher the reading, the less odorant in the gas. The lower the reading, more odorant in the gas. So just as a reminder, um, please look at that. Make sure your equipment is calibrated. That is something we're going to start looking at to make sure that you've got that, you're sending it off, it's calibrated, and your equipment is proper, and your employees know how to do a odorant test. So just as a reminder, odorant tests are due every 30 days. That is the state rule, and it applies to everyone. Every 30 days, you have to conduct a odorant test with a machine. Now, master meters, if any master meters are on here, that does not apply to a master meter operator. Patrolling. Just remember, you need to go look at any facilities that you think need patrolling and make a list. If there is a pipeline on a bridge, or every time it rains, it washes out that section of pipe, you need to put that on your patrolling list. We will be looking for a patrolling list, what you're patrolling, and we will also look at these intervals. So inside the business district, and then outside. So inside it's 4 times, not to exceed 4.5 months. Outside business district, it is twice a year. So you've got to also determine in business versus outside business, and that is for you to determine those locations. Leak survey with instrument. So just as a reminder, your business districts once a year, not exceed 15 months. Now, I know some of you all get a little confused on the 15 months. So just as a reminder, it's within that calendar year. So if you wait and do your leakage survey in November, December, you're not getting 15 months. You have to do it within that calendar year. Cathodically unprotected pipe is once every 3 years, not exceeding 39 months. And outside business, coated steel and plastic every 5 years, not to exceed 63 months. Now, I am more than happy for everyone to go above and beyond and do, if you want to do it more often, but you have to meet the basic requirement. You have to establish what needs to be done with leakage survey, where you're going to do it. We're going to look for maps, what leaks are out there, and how you're grading them and how you're repairing them. So one thing that we're seeing is if you have a contractor to come in and do your leakage survey, operators are not following through to make sure those leaks are repaired properly or within the required time frame. So you've got to look at your class location of your leak. Is it a class 1, class 2, or class 3? Twos you go back, you have to do follow-ups. Threes, also, you got to monitor those things. So a lot of people are not maintaining that paperwork. So that is something you've got to look at, and a reminder to stay on top of that. Regular inspections. So you need to look at all the systems. We have just originally found a few operators that have changed employees and realized that some stations out there had been missed and they had not been inspected ever. So don't assume that the sheet you have is all the stations in your system. If you're a new supervisor or the system is in you're over the gas, I would highly suggest to go out in the system and make sure your regulators, match up with is what is on your sheet. Make sure the make, model, and everything is correct and that you're inspecting all of them. Now, as a reminder, if you are not comfortable, we're looking at operators who just have no experience but have an one OQ course in doing regular inspections. I highly suggest you get a third party contractor in to do your regular inspections. It's very important, and it's not that I doubt your all's capabilities, but if you're uncomfortable and you're not experienced with it, get someone who is experienced. I highly suggest to do that. Valve inspections. Just remember, if you have a valve book that was started when the system first started, you need to make sure that you have the proper valves, that they're still operating. If one is under blacktop and it's been under blacktop for 5 years and you can't even get to it, you need to remove that from the critical valve inspections. So, because they must be operated. So, you need to reevaluate what are critical valves, and that's what needs to be in the book for us to review the records. Cathodic protection monitoring. This is very important. Pipe to soil. Um, I know enough about CP just to be dangerous. So, if you do not have the expertise with cathodic protection, I suggest, highly suggest, you hire a contractor that is familiar with cathodic protection. This is not something you need to continue to keep on. You've got low readings. There's something going on that you've got to fix. And sometimes you need someone with that expertise that may have seen it before to be able to fix that. So just a reminder, you have 1 year. So once you do, if you find an issue and you conducted your cathodic protection readings, you have 1 year to fix that issue. If it goes over and you're not making any attempt to improve or make changes, that is something that will result in a violation. So you've got to look at those pipe to soil, make sure they're properly meeting the code, and that you're actively working on fixing those problems. Rectifiers. One thing I found is we have employees in systems conducting rectifier inspections that they are not OQ'd to do. If you have rectifiers in your system, you need to go back to your OQ qualifications and make sure that you are properly OQ'd to conduct those inspections. We will look at records. We want to see, has it been done at least 6 times a year? Atmospheric corrosion. Atmospheric corrosion, you need to conduct, you can either do a percentage every year, but we're going to be looking at a record that have you actively looked on at the system? Hold on, sorry, I hit the button. Have you looked at the system, and we're going to look at a record. Has it been painted? Does it need paint? You've got to maintain this record, and it's on a 3-year cycle. Now, however you decide to maintain it, you can do a percentage every year on a 3-year, or you can wait till, that 3rd year, but that's what we're looking for. All right, annual reports. So I'm going to say it again. They are due March the 15th. Do not wait. Okay. Online submission is required. I'm going to go through the operator information. Just remember, make sure your address and your contacts are correct. System description. Make sure from year to year that the information is correct. Total leaks and hazardous leaks, eliminated or repaired. So make sure that the links in the columns are what you either to replace or to take action during the reporting year, or the number of hazardous leaks eliminated or repaired during the years reported as a performance measure for integrity management. So with that, make sure that if you have put on that report that you have 0 leaks that does not meet their criteria, and we go to do an inspection and we find a class one leak in your records, then you got a problem. So make sure it's meeting those criterias. So, and they're in the proper classification. So the classification is corrosion failure, natural force damage, excavation damage, other outside force damage, pipe weld or joint failure, equipment failure, incorrect operation, or other cause. Excavation damage. So part D has changed a little bit. So look at that. So now they have broken down the excavation damage root cause classifications. So the root cause, it breaks it down to one call notification practice not sufficient, locating practice is not sufficient, excavation practice is not sufficient, and other. But with that, they have actually broken it down even more in each of those categories. So you will have to put what actually the cause is and make sure those are correct. We'll look at your number of your locate tickets. Now, they have apparently, I thought I took this out of the PowerPoint presentation, but I think they have taken out the excess flow valves. That is not being asked now. I don't think. So sorry, I've uploaded the wrong one. But yeah, I think part E is not, they're not asking for excess flow valves. Um, part F, this is very rare, leaks on federal land. Your percentage of unaccounted for gas. If you do not understand how to calculate unaccounted for gas, you need to get with a third party contractor to help you figure that. A lot of you will just put zero down, and that is not correct. Okay. Um, a lot of times we'll see you'll have leaks and different things, and you've got zero. That's not correct. So you need to make sure that is the right information put into the report. You've also got additional information and then the preparer. So a lot of times, if it's an operator, make sure whoever the preparer's contact information and email on that is someone that I can get a hold of. Because if I don't have up-to-date contact information, I will go to that report and pull who the preparer was to try to make contact with that operator. All right, let me go to the chat box really quick and look over if there was any questions.
Melissa, do you have
Huh.
access to it? If you're not seeing it, I see one.
Yes, I just pulled it up. Yep. Hold on one second. Let me stop sharing. Let me go over to the chat. Okay. So, someone just wanted to know where Kentucky PSC currently stands on the use of advanced mobile leak detection for compliance survey or just an emission quantification survey. So with that, right now, I know with the new rule coming out, it is on standstill. But I'm not opposed to it right now. Just meet the code requirements. I think there is a lot of advanced technology out there, but comes with a price. But no, we're not opposed to it. But right now, just make sure you're maintaining code compliance with that. So with that, okay, so I see some people want, um, we could definitely send out the slideshow. How are you measuring odorant levels? Stain tubes, extent. Okay. Might need a little bit more information. So if you would like to reach out to me by email, okay. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to read through this. And I will try to go through some of these and reply directly if there's something I can't answer right now. Um, Let me go back and pull up. Like I said, I will email out, and then Nancy can also put it on the KGA website um, for the slides. Let me go back to the events. Okay, so we've got the KGA events. And Nancy, this is at the bottom of all of Nancy's emails. And then the pipeline strike response training, how to sign up there. And we really need people to sign up. That way we know how many to plan for food and seating and stuff like that. So with that, does anyone have any questions that they want to ask right now um, while we're on? And most of us will be um, available next week. We will be um, at Expo. So if you're going to be there at Expo, please reach out. Um, and if you have any questions, feel free. I highly suggest that you reach out to your inspector or the inspector's list. I can provide that in email. They're going to be your best contact. I am happy and I love to hear from you all, but sometimes I can't get back to you as fast as they can. So if you have a question or an issue, if you want to just reach out to them, and then if it's something, they can't answer, they'll get with me and then they can get back to you. So just as a reminder, do not forget your um, progress reports due the 15th. As soon as though that deadline comes and paperwork's processed in the portal, we will be reaching out to those operators that hopefully I have none that has not submitted the reports. So please do not wait. And as a reminder, I cannot help you reset your password or anything like that. That is something you're going to contact PHMSA. We have nothing to do with the portal, your password, or anything about submitting the report. So, does anybody have any verbal questions? I know this was just a quick run through, and I'll send this PowerPoint out, and I'll also put out the compliance checklist that I use. And I hope you got something out of it. And like I said, I know we're regulators, but we have one goal, and that's safety. And we're a team, and we need to work together. So please reach out if you have any issues or questions or anything like that. And I hope to see you all next week, or if you're unable to make it, one of the KGA events will always be there. And we have our pipeline safety seminar in August, and the federal PHMSA will be there presenting from Oklahoma TQ. They'll be presenting, and we've got some other PHMSA um, that will be able to do some presentations. Now, with that, if there's anything that you all would like to hear or focus on for the meeting in August, if you will reach out and let me know, I'm open to speakers. If there's someone you've heard that is really good or a topic you're wanting to hear about, please let me know. I want this meeting to be informative and something you get something out of. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Well, Kristen,
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. And
thank you so
as,
much.
yes,
And
thank
you
you
will
so
have a
much.
good, safe weekend. And I will get this PowerPoint out and I will also get out the compliance checklist. Okay. Everyone, I really appreciate you all coming and taking your time. I know everybody's busy. And I will get those information to you. And like I said, reach out to us. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.